Okay, and here we are today. We're sitting on a rather large yacht, 72-foot yacht called Challenge Wales in Penarth Marina, and we have with me here John Solosy, who's got a couple of challenges on his hand. One is to row across the Atlantic with three of his buddies and not actually fall out. And the second one is to raise, in doing that, to raise £25,000 for Challenge Wales, which is a very impressive award-winning Welsh charity that gives youngsters the opportunity to actually find themselves, to overcome challenges, and to allow them to go out into the world better people. Hopefully. John, so tell us a bit about yourself.
Um, John Solosy, I'm 49 years of age. I'm a father of three, and I have a rather large dog at home as well. Originally from Essex, came down to South Wales as a student at the age of 18. Loved being in South Wales, loved being in the outdoors, and the opportunities that South Wales gave. Joined the army, was a member of the Royal Regiment of Wales and then the Royal Welsh. Was very privileged to spend 10 years working with Welsh soldiers all over the world. Came out of the army and having married a Welsh girl, we settled back in Cardiff and have been in Cardiff ever since.
And so that was 10 years ago you left the army, was it?
Left the army 15 years ago. First few years we were in the Middle East when we first left, but then when we returned from the Middle East, we came back to Cardiff.
And so why, at the age of 49, decide to row across the Atlantic?
It hasn't just happened at the age of 49. I could say it's a proper midlife crisis just before turning 50 next March. But in reality, this journey began about 6 years ago. I was looking for a new challenge, having spent most of my life enjoying being in the outdoors and appreciating what the outdoors does for my mental health and for my well-being. I was looking for something that was slightly different in terms of rather than paying to go with somebody to climb Everest or having a guide. I was looking for something that would test me both mentally and physically, and I would have to be dependent on my skill sets and my team skill sets to be able to actually make the crossing, as opposed to climbing a mountain with a very experienced mountain guide who knows the routes, has been up in every condition and will be able to react to every situation very calmly. I thought it would be great to be able to test my own mental ability and my friends' mental abilities in an area that's very isolated, and to be able to enjoy that as a collective, really.
And in boats, I mean, have you had much time messing around in boats, or are boats new to you?
Our boats in different shapes and sizes, really. And so I sailed a bit as a youngster, but only in small dinghies. I became obsessive about kayaking, so I spent a lot of time sea kayaking and whitewater kayaking, having done various big whitewater in the Himalayas and other things in the past. I spent time as a rafting guide. I sailed bigger boats and kind of enjoy cruising in the Mediterranean when I can. So I have spent time playing on boats, but I wouldn't say I was a naturally competent person on them.
Right. And so you've got, there's you and three of your friends, rugby and military backgrounds, and it's going to be testing out there on that friendship.
Hugely. And so we laugh because we're all quite competitive people, but we've set our main objective to get to the other side as friends still, and that's going to be quite a challenge when you're in a very small boat and you're doing a 2 hour on 2 hour off shift rotation, or a 3 hour on and 1 hour off shift rotation, and you're tired, you're hungry, the smallest little niggles will start to grate every now and again. It's finding that sense of humour between all of us that keeps us going and will kind of see us to the other side as friends.
And you think the army training and the rugby training would come into that?
I think so. I think we all have a slightly dark sense of humour, but we also won't take offence when somebody is tired and there is the odd snap, or there is kind of the need to air frustrations between us. We'll see that as a really healthy part of the journey. That bit of conflict being a good bit in terms of clearing the air and enabling us to carry on forward, and knowing the others and knowing what they've historically been through. I can say with confidence that I know that they'll just give it their all, and I suspect for all of us, our greatest fear is probably letting the other team members down.
So tell us a bit about the race. So how long is it, and how long is it going to take you, and how many sores are you going to have?
The last one's very worrying. But in real terms, the race is from the Canary Islands to Antigua. It's 3,000 miles. We hope to complete it in somewhere between 35 to 40 days, but that's very weather dependent. The nature of the routine means that we'll be rowing 2 hours on and 2 hours off, hopefully, for most of the crossing. The time spent on the oars and the time spent sat on your bottom, going backwards and forwards, means that there's two main areas of concern. Obviously, the blisters on the hands and the sores on the bums. So kind of that personal discipline in terms of cleaning after every shift, applying any ointment that's needed, any pressure sores that are building up have to be looked at immediately, because anything that gets infected out there, we've got no real way of dealing with except just cleaning, and that can be quite a painful experience for people.
What about the sea conditions? Because I mean, you're facing potential of 20-foot waves and potential of capsizing.
Yeah, so you look at the weather conditions, and the patterns have changed every year. So 5 years ago, there was an incredibly calm crossing where there was no real storms. It was pretty much flat as a pancake, and the people managed to motor their way across nice and quickly, and everything that you hope could have kind of worked well for them. Last year, the weather pattern was really harsh. There were reports of 35 to 40-foot waves. Boats were being flipped over regularly, and one boat actually sank. And so we hope that we'll experience everything, because we think that's part of the journey. We're hoping that kind of the extreme weather will be there for relatively short periods of time, as opposed to the entire crossing. But I think part of the challenge is the unknown, and the beauty that nature will just surprise us every day. So I think that's part of the reason we're doing it.
Right. So that's it, the physical challenge, and the next part of your challenge is raising £25,000 for your charity of choice, which is Challenge Wales, based in Penarth.
Yeah, that's right. So we've each one of us has set ourselves the challenge of raising £25,000 for a chosen charity. My chosen charity is Challenge Wales. Having got so much out of the outdoors as a young person and all the way through my life, and having seen how the outdoors can change people's lives, it was really important for me that when I do a crossing like this and put myself through this type of challenge, that something worthwhile comes out for other people. And so far, the worthwhile part that we've managed to achieve has been to engage some disadvantaged young people in terms of getting involved in the journey and understanding the challenges that we're doing and the mental health issues that we'll face. And therefore, to be able to try and raise £25,000 for a charity like Challenge Wales, that effectively takes youngsters out into an environment that is new to them, teaches them new skills, helps them develop their communications, helps them to believe in themselves, and then helps them then to reintegrate back into society, having a better life, is so important that I just think that any money that I can raise, any difference I can make to somebody else, will just be fantastic.
That sounds great. And how much have you raised already?
So we're just over 12,500 so far, and we haven't really. We've had a few charity fundraising events, but we haven't kind of gone out to the mass sponsorship side in terms of emailing friends, family, business colleagues, and those type of things. So we're hoping that we'll generate a bit of interest there. But we're hoping that things like this will hopefully raise awareness, and people see the kind of the lengths that we're willing to put ourselves through to give other people an opportunity, and they'll want to jump behind us as well and support us.
Okay. Right. This point, what I want to do is bring in Vicky from Challenge Wales, and then she can uh, talk about how much of a difference what you doing out on the Atlantic will make to uh, Challenge Wales, the charity.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thanks.
And here we got Vicky Williams from Challenge Wales, just to uh, fill us in what it will mean to the charity, that £25,000 and hopefully more that will be raised by John's big row.
£25,000 to Challenge Wales will make a huge difference at a time where it is very tough for charities. Funding will enable us to provide more opportunities to young people to make our activities more accessible. So by jumping on board the boat, we help young people not how to sail, in fact, but it's all about developing those teamwork skills, leadership skills, that self-confidence, improving self-esteem, giving them maybe a foot into a marine career, learning about ocean literacy and environmental issues and things that they just wouldn't have the opportunity to experience. So the £25,000 funding will enable us to create more bursaries to enable more young people to actually have that experience and to develop to their full potential.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, you've been running Challenge Wales for a long time now. How many years?
So I'm the co-founder of Challenge Wales, and it's been 14 years, almost 15 years now since we set up Challenge Wales. And over that time, we've worked with over 4,000 young people and seen lots of volunteers jumping on board to help deliver our activities.
And I mean, you must have seen during that time standout cases where people have come on board, youngsters have come on board who've been in a very difficult situation, and the Challenge Wales experience has managed to turn them around and given them a whole new perspective on life.
Definitely, we've seen some amazing life-changing experiences take place. Quite a few do stand out. One in particular is a young lad from the valleys in Wales. He'd been a little bit of a recluse. He'd been living in his bedroom for a couple of years. He lived with his grandparents. He hadn't spoken for 2 years. He just played computer games. And he was part of a social group who then put him on board our boat for a 5-day residential. During that time, we didn't actually realise he was an elective mute, but he got involved in all the activities with young people, and none of them knew each other when they first stepped on board the boat. So he was not only helping to sail the boat, follow instructions from our volunteer crew, but was engaged with cooking and even the cleaning. And after the week he had on board, he felt a lot more confident. He was speaking again. As a result of that, he went and he was more confident now to take his driving test. He stepped back into education, and he's currently doing a business degree now. So he had a really massive impact on that young person.
That sounds fantastic. Big turnaround.
Yeah, definitely.
And that sort of experience could be open to all sorts of people, whether it's within a group or individually.
That's right. So if you're aged between 14 and 25, there's the opportunity to step on board. We've worked with a really diverse mix of young people. So those that are in care, those that are young carers, those who are at risk of homelessness, those that have dropped out of the education system and perhaps have lost a bit of focus and not quite really sure on what they want to do next, those that are in college and school and in employment. So yes, our bursaries are there to help everyone really to jump on board and experience outdoor education. Our classroom doesn't have 4 walls like a traditional classroom, but our opportunities are there to be taken.
And can you tell us a bit about the yacht, about Challenge Wales yacht? Because there is a connection between John rowing and Che Blythe, who was basically responsible for the building of this yacht. Because Che Blythe did a transatlantic. That was his first taste with fame when he rowed with John Ridgway across the North Atlantic, taking 90 days, the hard route, inevitably because he was a para. But tell us a little bit about the yacht.
So Challenge Wales is a 72-foot challenge yacht. She's probably the largest sailing boat in Wales, and she raced around the world twice in what was at the time the world's toughest yacht race, and sailed by a group of amateurs. So the charity Challenge Wales then took that boat on when that organisation, that race didn't exist anymore. But yeah, like John and the other rowers being amateurs, this sailing boat was crewed around the world by amateurs, and it was all part of building confidence, helping people develop those teamwork, leadership skills, facing challenges, facing the unexpected, and having lots of fun at the same time.
That's great. Thanks. Okay, John. Just a bit about the name. You're called the Big Ordeal. Any reason for that?
Not really. We racked our brains in terms of calling ourselves the Big Ordeal. We tried to identify something that we thought would be quite amusing and slightly catchy at the same time. And just by the nature of OAR, being an oar as opposed to a standard ordeal, we thought it was semi-catchy and it might trigger in people's minds for when they want to donate for us. And so, yeah, hence the name, the Big Ordeal.
And which brings me on. So, if people do want to donate to the Big Ordeal and Challenge Wales, how can they do that?
It's pretty easy. We're on Just Giving, and you just put in Just Giving, the Big Ordeal, John Solosy, which is SOLOSY, and you'll see our fundraising page. And there's a Challenge Wales logo there, so you'll see the wonderful bit, and then you'll be able to contribute and help this wonderful charity.
That's great. Lovely.
Okay.
Good luck, John.
Thanks very much, Bill.
Cheers. Okay, John. Just a bit about the name. You're called the Big Ordeal. Any reason for that?
Not really. We racked our brains in terms of calling ourselves the Big Ordeal. We tried to identify something that we thought would be quite amusing and slightly catchy at the same time. And just by the nature of OAR, being an oar as opposed to a standard ordeal, we thought it was semi-catchy and it might trigger in people's minds for when they want to donate for us. And so, yeah, hence the name, the Big Ordeal.
And which brings me on. So, if people do want to donate to the Big Ordeal and Challenge Wales, how can they do that?
It's pretty easy. We're on Just Giving, and you just put in Just Giving, the Big Ordeal, John Solosy, which is SOLOSY, and you'll see our fundraising page. And there's a Challenge Wales logo there, so you'll see the wonderful bit, and then you'll be able to contribute and help this wonderful charity.
That's great. Lovely.
Okay.
Good luck, John.
Thanks very much, Bill.
Cheers. Okay, John. Just a bit about the name. You're called the Big Ordeal. Any reason for that?
Not really. We racked our brains in terms of calling ourselves the Big Ordeal. We tried to identify something that we thought would be quite amusing and slightly catchy at the same time. And just by the nature of OAR, being an oar as opposed to a standard ordeal, we thought it was semi-catchy and it might trigger in people's minds for when they want to donate for us. And so, yeah, hence the name, the Big Ordeal.
And which brings me on. So, if people do want to donate to the Big Ordeal and Challenge Wales, how can they do that?
It's pretty easy. We're on Just Giving, and you just put in Just Giving, the Big Ordeal, John Solosy, which is SOLOSY, and you'll see our fundraising page. And there's a Challenge Wales logo there, so you'll see the wonderful bit, and and then you'll be able to contribute and help this wonderful charity.
That's great. Lovely.
Okay.
Good luck, John.
Thanks very much, Phil.
Cheers. Okay, John. Just a bit about the name. You're called the Big Ordeal. Any reason for that?
Not really. We racked our brains in terms of calling ourselves the Big Ordeal. We tried to identify something that we thought would be quite amusing and slightly catchy at the same time. And just by the nature of OAR, being an or as opposed to a standard ordeal, we thought it was semi-catchy and it might trigger in people's minds for when they want to donate for us. And so, yeah, hence the name, the Big Ordeal.
And which brings me on. So, if people do want to donate to the Big Ordeal and Challenge Wales, how can they do that?
It's pretty easy. We're on Just Giving, and you just put in Just Giving, the Big Ordeal, John Solosy, which is SOLOSY, and you'll see our fundraising page. And there's a Challenge Wales logo there, so you'll see the wonderful bit, and then you'll be able to contribute and help this wonderful charity.
That's great. Lovely.
Okay.
Good luck, John.
Thanks very much, Phil.
Cheers.